Okay, ready, Sandhya?
Jai Shri Krishna to our respected guests, President Bharatbhai Sodha, and all those who have joined us via the medium of Facebook and Zoom from all across the country and across the world. I thank you all on behalf of our Mahila President, Pandaben Raja, for joining us today in this event. I would like to start by saying that today we are here to celebrate women, but I feel we should celebrate women every single day. And there is no need to look for a superwoman outside, as the superwoman resides within ourselves, in our families, amongst our friends and colleagues. For example, when I look around, I see all of you as superwomen and full of strength. Let's make a pledge today to celebrate us each and every single day. I read something somewhere recently, and it said, well-behaved women never make history. And I hope we never behave ourselves. I will now pass you on to our LCUK President, Bharatbhai Sodha. Thank you, Bharatbhai.
Thanks, Raju. Sarvane Jai Shri Krishna. On behalf of the Lohana Community of United Kingdom, I would like to welcome you to today's presentation to commemorate International Women's Day. Today's program has been organized, obviously, by the LCUK Mahila Committee. International Women's Day is a global holiday, is a global day celebrated annually on the 8th of March to commemorate the cultural, political, and socio-economic achievements of women. The United Nations theme for this year for the International Women's Day is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. So during our time, we have seen the change happening slowly but surely, where women have made significant progress in all fields. And today we have a few young Lohana ladies who have worked hard and excelled in their respective fields. And today, hopefully, they'll share some of their experience with us, which should inspire those, those who are looking to start on either a business career or a professional career, but it should be good. So without taking much time, I think the only thing I will mention is that our next event, the Lohana Community of UK event, is an Antakshari competition, which is on the format of Family Fortune style, which is on Sunday, 3rd of April, and will be on Facebook Live. So without taking any further time, I will ask Rajulben to continue with the program. Rajulben.
Thank you so much, Bharatbhai, for that beautiful introduction. And like Bharatbhai said, today we are celebrating women and the success of women too. My first presenter today is a young lady called Mira Ben Majithia. She has written a beautiful book, Planned to Perfection. What a beautiful book, Mira, I should say. A wedding planner, an organizer. From what I know, she organizes the best Navratri in the world, and a radio presenter. Above all, I take this opportunity to say someone who calls me Rajul Didi, and I say that with pride. I have known this young lady from a very young age when I used to pick her up from nursery school or school, I presume. Without taking much further time, I'm going to pass it on to Mira to tell us what her journey has been like. Thank you, Mira.
Thank you very much. So yes, Rajul Lily did actually used to pick me up from school. I bet that makes her feel very old, but thank you for that lovely intro. So I'm really honored to be here today, just to kind of share my experience with you all. And a special thank you going out to Panaben and of course the LCUK Mahila Committee. So honestly, when she called me up and she said, you have a really inspirational story, I would love for you to share it, I just thought, well, I don't feel like it's inspirational at all. Like, I don't know what I have to share or, what advice I have to offer to anyone. And it just made me think it was something that I just sat with for a moment, that thought process, because I realized that so often women tend to just really be quite dismissive of their own achievements and quite they tend to downplay it quite often. And I don't know why this is, whether it's, you know, a cultural thing or, you know, whether it's a British thing, whatever it might be. But when I just sat with that for a moment, I just thought, actually, that's something that I would really like to be a bit more conscious of. And hopefully that's something we can all be a bit more conscious of, just being able to celebrate our own achievements. And it's events like these that really allow us to do that. So I'm really appreciative that you guys have put something like this on today. Now, I'm very conscious of the fact that we don't have a lot of time, but today I really want to talk to you about why I decided to write my book, Plan to Perfection, and really what key things I learned from that particular journey and how that really is applicable to everyday life for anyone who maybe is looking to start a business or even just, you know, start a new hobby or do something new in life. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to work. And why I genuinely believe that everyone should really be going after, you know, that one thing that they really want. I'm sure there's lots of things that women generally want to do, but, you know, even if it's just that one thing that you can do, it can make all the difference, and kind of just running through that. So I want to quickly show you the book. This is not a sales pitch, but this is Plan to Perfection. And it's all about wedding planning, specifically for Indian and interfaith brides. So if you know anyone that's getting married and if they're feeling really stuck or confused, this is a book for that. And I wrote that because during my wedding planning journey, I was often finding so many brides were coming to me, maybe the mothers of brides, you know, bridesmaids, they were really confused about what to do. They just felt really stuck. And for me, like personally, as a wedding planner, my number one message is that weddings should be fun. And that is what this book is all about. But I'm not really going to sell this book to you, so we won't talk too much about that. A bit about my background and why I'm here. So of course, as Rajali said, I'm a wedding planner. I'm also the creative director for an online wedding social marketplace called Now to Vow. I also currently work as a human potential coach for female business owners, and I work with them to kind of help them overcome any kind of limitations, help them with their transformations, and do this through a use of kind of just spiritual practices and business practices. And over the years, I have had a lot of jobs, like so many jobs. And I think that's one of the reasons why I can really relate to anyone who's actually looking to start something from nothing, and really over and over again with my career. And it's basically just because I have lots of interests and I like to try new things. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I feel like so often we're conditioned and we're told we should stick with one thing or we should do something in particular. You know, society tells us this. And I think as women in particular, we often feel like we have to kind of follow those kind of limitations and boundaries that are set for us by other people. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. So going back to this book then, so I started writing this book back in April 2020. I believe we were in lockdown at the time, and I basically had nothing to do with my time because I was a wedding planner. So I had no work whatsoever. Everything was on hold. So I thought, right, I really need to do something. I need to utilize my time. I want to move forward with my business. How do I do that? And the book just came about at the right time for me. I've always loved writing. I actually have a degree in journalism. I've, you know, edited a magazine. As a child, I was that child who used to be in class and who would often love English language and English literature. So it just felt like it was something quite natural. And it was also on my bucket list. So it felt like this was a perfect time to get writing with this particular book. But I had a deadline because I knew that actually weddings were going to start up soon. I did not have time to continue writing this book. So I had about between April and July where I wanted to write all the content, and I wanted to release my book in particular by December, because December, January, February is really peak time for like wedding planning. So I wanted the book to be out then. So that was something that I was really kind of set on before I even started writing the book, that it has to be out during this particular time frame because this is ideal for the wedding calendar. And I didn't know where to start. It was like really daunting. I hadn't ever published a book or thought about it. So for me, one of the key things, and this is something that I would recommend to everyone, and not just because I work with a coach, but I was actually working with a coach at the time. She was amazing. And she basically kind of put me on the spot and said, well, if you've always wanted to do something, why aren't you doing it? And I think just having somebody in your corner, somebody questioning you, somebody asking you those important questions is really important, because it just makes you kind of sit with yourself in a way that maybe you don't do on your own. So one of the biggest takeaways for me from writing this book, actually, the first thing I would say is really surround yourself with people who lift you up if you're looking to do something new. Or maybe it's not new, maybe you've got a dream or just something that you want to do. Actually be around those people that, you know, will make you feel good, not those people who actually make you doubt yourself or question yourself, because generally I feel as women, we're really quick to doubt ourselves anyway. So, you know, if somebody has sort of a toxic nature or they're not making you feel good, it's okay to just step away from that. I had a couple of people who thought it was crazy that I was writing a book because I do lots of new things all the time. And for me, it wasn't a case of cutting them out of my life. It was just me not sharing that information with them in an active way where I would share it with my other friends who are open to reading my chapters, or my coaches who I was working with. So definitely surrounding yourself with the right network, or the right tribe, as I call it, is really important. The second thing that I learned from the book was actually just believing in yourself, even when nobody else will. And I tell you why, because actually this book is self-published. So I didn't have an agent. I didn't have anyone who I would go to who was actually going to sell this book for me. It was self-published because I knew if I waited for somebody to approach me, and I waited for that whole kind of scenario to happen, it may never happen. Also, it definitely would not happen by December, which is when I wanted to actually release this book. So I decided to take the plunge and actually self-publish, which was a really big deal. It's a huge financial investment. It means that, you know, you're a lot more independent. Yes, you have more control, but you also have to look through various different kind of business avenues that you wouldn't have to do if you actually had sort of a publishing team behind you. So I would say believe in yourself. That was something I really learned, and actually it worked out well for me. And in most cases, I know if you genuinely believe in yourself, there's nothing that can stop you, and it will probably work out well for you in most cases or most scenarios. So that was another really big takeaway. The third takeaway for me was all about planning. I'm a wedding planner. Despite what my parents tell you, I am organized. So I do like to plan. And I think when you're starting any new venture, especially a business, that kind of planning aspect is really key. So for me, in terms of writing the book, it was planning when I wanted to release this, and then working backwards from that. So how many words did I need to write a day? How many chapters did I need to get through per week? Just having those sorts of overall goals and outlines in place was really important for me. And I'd say with whatever new kind of venture you're starting with, that kind of planning process is going to be really key. Like, don't start without having any plan in place, because you will just end up going all over the place. And it's the same with wedding planning. You know, when I start with couples, I say to them, actually, let's start with your budget. Let's have a plan. Let's have some ideas in place, because without that, we really have no structure. And then we're just kind of aiming kind of without any particular goal. So that is really, really key. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't ever go with the flow. I have a very strong idea or an argument for going with the flow. I do a lot of work in the kind of spiritual mindset category with astrology and human design. And I do believe that there is some kind of room for letting things flow, but you definitely have to have kind of a starting point and an end point. So definitely plan. My fourth takeaway probably is keeping an eye on the end goal, which I don't think is the same as planning. It's more from the sense of just mindset. So for me, like, it was hard at times, because actually writing is hard when you're just sitting there during COVID and, you know, you're in your one room. It was quite frustrating. Sometimes I wouldn't know what to write. Sometimes I wouldn't know what to do. But just constantly keeping an eye on that kind of end feeling. And for me, that was just, you know, seeing the book there, like on bookshelves, or actually like feeling how people would like touch it and feel it and enjoy it. I would often think about the brides who are really stressed. And so that end goal for me was thinking, well, how will they feel once they've gone through this book? Will they feel happier? Will they feel lighter? So kind of just being aware of that end feeling, which kind of steps into this element of, I suppose, manifestation, which is so popular nowadays, but really just kind of sticking with that feeling, I think is really important, because sometimes if we forget our why and why we're doing something in the first place, it can be really difficult to continue. And I definitely learned that having a strong why and just kind of sticking with that, whether it's post-it or having it somewhere visible, remembering that was a really key way for me to kind of reach that end goal that I wanted. And actually, like, it's been amazing, because sticking with that has led to so many opportunities. This, for example, is one of them, like being on podcasts or being interviewed on the radio. Like, so many great opportunities came on the back of sticking with that goal and that kind of why. And I think that's really important, because so many people often will just kind of, I guess they'll kind of just stop doing something halfway because they feel like they're not reaping the rewards right away. And so that's a really strong message that I would love for people to take away. And the final thing, hopefully not taking up too much time, but really is just not settling for something that isn't good enough. And an example for me with this particular book was the design element. So I'm very visual. I obviously plan weddings. I love for things to look beautiful and very pretty. And I was having a lot of back and forth with the team that were actually designing my cover. I was unhappy. We went back and forth a couple of times and I thought, right, no, this is not working for me. I then went off, did my own research, found my own illustrator, my own designer, and I put it together myself because I just was not happy with what they were offering. And that is, again, just a sign of just not settling when you know something doesn't feel right or when it's not good enough. And so often in life, especially as women, I think you almost feel compelled just to settle because maybe you have other responsibilities. And I think it's important, whether it again is a hobby or whether it's a business, just if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't connect, then just follow your intuition, because often that will really guide you. So just to kind of recap over the 4 points, in terms of the things that I learned from this particular book writing journey, they are things like, for example, believing in yourself, because I believe that everyone has the ability to do something amazing. So really, like, that is the first step that you take. The second is just surrounding yourself with people who really lift you up, having that really strong network, which I'm sure so many of the women will probably agree with today is so, so important. Also making sure you plan effectively. Having that plan is going to be really key for you. Keeping an eye on that end goal and knowing your why, that's going to be really important. And then not settling for something that doesn't feel good enough, because you deserve something good, you deserve the best. So that is really key. And for me, all of that kind of came together and it resulted in this amazing book. But for you, that could be something completely different. So, you know, if there's something that I would love for you to do at the end of today or at the end of all these talks, it would really be just to think about, you know, that one thing that you would love to do, whether it is that hobby or that business or something new that you'd like to learn, and just thinking about that first step that you could take towards it. And I think that would be something pretty amazing. So yeah, that's pretty much what I learned, what I wanted to share with you today. And I just look forward to hearing what all the other women are going to share with us too.
Mira, that was one inspirational journey. And I like one thing about you, you're like me, very perfectionist and planning too. So well done. And I have some questions here. I mean, you know, you might have covered them in your talk, but still I would ask you. Okay, how do you keep yourself so motivated all the time?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways is to just keep an eye on, I guess, your end goal, like I was saying. So, you know, that was specific to the book, but actually just thinking about where you want to be, whether it's, you know, in a year's time or 5 years time. I don't really like to plan for like 10 years ahead or anything like that. But I think just knowing what you want is a really great way to stay motivated, because you will constantly work towards that. And also, I think mindset has a lot to do with it. I know that there are some other speakers who will probably share some more about mindset, but I think just surrounding yourself with good people and also just working on yourself from a non-business point of view is really important, because I strongly believe that, you know, our kind of work-life balance is really key, and like success really comes, business success even, from like a successful personal life. So I think that is really interlinked. So when we work on those two together, then we can really flourish.
Good. Okay, how long have you been in the business?
So wedding planning in particular has been around 7 years. So it's been a long time. And when I started, I had actually no experience really. I think Rajulili mentioned right at the start that we do organize Navratri, which is one of my favorite times of the year. That was literally my only experience of any kind of event planning. We also have a huge family, so lots of family events. But professionally, I actually had no hospitality background. So it was 7 years of kind of lots of practical learning. And yeah, I kind of just enjoyed every moment of it.
That's very good. Yeah. Okay. I must congratulate you on your book. I mean, it must be very helpful to the newly, you know, couples and so on. And what inspired you in writing your book? I think you did answer some of it, but if you can sort of answer it again.
Yeah. So the whole point of the book really is, it's a very short book, by the way, because I think anybody who's wedding planning doesn't really want to go through a really thick book. So the whole point is really for brides to take away the book, read it, and just have a really practical way of planning their wedding. Because so often I feel people get really stressed. They hear a lot from, friends and family members who may have previously been married. Of course, there's so many generations and so many people like to get involved with that whole planning process, and it does make it quite overwhelming. So the book isn't just a practical way to plan your wedding. It's also, how do we deal with that overwhelm that comes from other family members? Or how do we deal with, reducing our guest list, which is often such a big deal for Indian families? Or, how do we deal with so many of these other elements actually that have nothing to do with just the practical element of planning a wedding? So I just wanted to have somewhere where brides could refer to, make notes from and on, that will just make them enjoy the process. Because I think, it's really heartbreaking when I see so many couples for 2 years just feeling very stressed out about the whole wedding planning process, and then it ends in a day. So you want to enjoy that entire process, and that is my goal and aim, for people to actually just relax a bit more and just enjoy that process together.
That's good.
Oh, I think you might just be on mute there. Can't hear your question.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, so how did you fund your book? Did you have to find funding for it, or how did it work?
Yeah, so it was all actually funded by myself. And this is something that I didn't mention, but especially when it comes to book writing, I wouldn't suggest somebody write a book just for that vanity kind of point of saying I'm an author, because actually it's quite an expensive process. So for anyone, if they are kind of even thinking about writing a book, something my coach said to me was, why are you writing the book? Just wanting to be an author is not a good enough reason. What are you going to get from writing this, especially when you're going to self-publish, because it is a big financial investment. So for me, I just had to be really kind of cautious about why I was writing it. And for me, it was almost like a business marketing tool. The book has so much information, but the book doesn't take away from a wedding planner or an on-the-day coordinator. So on the back of the book, I actually got a lot of business, so it kind of paid for itself. But for anyone else that is considering self-publishing, then yes, it is a financial investment, and you need to think about how you're kind of going to make that money back, because so often the money isn't made back through sales. Yes, you will get sales, but then there is a whole other kind of business avenue of book writing, and you'll see so many kind of coaches and so many business people writing a book nowadays, because it does serve as such a strong marketing tool. But you really need to think about kind of further on, how am I going to make my money back from that?
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so now you must be busy, since lockdown, right? A lot of weddings are taking place. So have you been busy in your business again? Are you back to wedding planning business?
Yeah, so 2022 is, I think, actually on par to be one of the busiest wedding seasons since 1984. It was a very random year. I don't know why there were so many weddings in that year. So it's set to be really busy. So for me, I already kind of was fully booked for the year anyway, so I wasn't taking on any other couples. It is busy. It kicks off in May for me, but as part of the journey of the book, I was actually headhunted to work with another platform, an online platform, where actually they match couples with their ideal suppliers. So I do a lot of work with them now, which really limits my availability and time for planning. But I do get to help couples in a completely other capacity, where it's a lot easier for them to just find their ideal suppliers. So I do a lot of work with this company too. So actually it kind of worked really well for me, because I kind of get the best of both worlds, from kind of, working with a company behind the scenes and also then being there on the day with my couples.
Oh, that's good. I'm so happy. I'm a chairperson of Connections, LCNL's Connections, and I do the same thing, like matchmaking. So that's interesting. Very well done, and all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mira, for that lovely, lovely talk. And you've really inspired. I know there are a few questions, and one of them that I think someone has sent me is that saying that, are you going to be writing another book? And if so, what is the subject matter?
No plans yet for another book, but I will let you know. I'll keep you posted.
Great. And by the way, Mira, there's a gentleman who's written a beautiful message for you, which is proud of you, darling. And I think it comes from a gentleman called Pravin Majesia, yeah?
Yeah, that is my dad. I did not pay to do that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, moving on. So the next speaker today, Varshaben Soneji, she is amazing. I've actually looked at the website, Varshaben. You're great. And I don't know how you do all this juggling, by the way. So Varshaben is a herbalist with over 32 years experience in this field. And she's a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists. She is full of passion and extremely knowledgeable in this subject matter. She has been in this business for a long time, and I'm sure today we gain from her business skills. So Varshaben, passing it over to you. Thank you very much.
Jai Shri Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Sandhya Ben, for inviting me to speak today. It's a real pleasure to join you all. So many of you on the group, nearly 100 of you. So thank you, everybody. I just wanted to share with you my little journey and hope that it inspires other women, especially in the field of education. So when I was a youngster, I wasn't a very academic person. I was more interested in playing. We had a lovely park near our school. I was really interested in other things. So I didn't really study very well. When I left school, I went straight into retail work. And I worked my way up in retail work to managerial position. So the practical side of working was much more conducive to my personality. And the academic side was not very something that I was drawn to. But what can happen is that we learn different things at different times in our life. And what I wanted to portray today is that you don't have to follow the norm path. You can get to your destination in other ways, and sometimes it's actually a better way of doing things. So what happened with me was I carried on working in retail, then I got married and I started my family. When my son was of school age, I had a choice to either go back to work as a full-time person working, or I could think about following my dream, which was always to study herbal medicine or some form of natural medicine to help others. That was my dream, and I had already built up quite a lot of knowledge in this field with my own reading, but I didn't have any qualification in it, so I couldn't actually practice as such. So I discussed this with my husband, and he was supportive. So he said to me, why don't you go and study? But it was a big task to take, to go to study as a mature student, to think about finances, to run a home, to look after children, and study at the same time. So it was a struggle, but he was supporting me, so I went ahead with it, and I did my degree in herbal medicine. So I did that here locally at Westminster University, and I was running around like a mad woman. I would drop my son to breakfast club, I would go into uni, my friends would take notes for me. They were so supportive. They understood that, I wasn't able to be there on time, so they'd take extra notes from me and hand them out to me. After uni, they would go off to the pub, or they would go off to socialize, and I would rush back home to pick up my son and cook dinner, and had to become very, very organized. So I had systems in place to make sure that dinner was ready on time, things were pre-chopped and pre-meal planning, that kind of thing. My husband would help by prepping things for me and learning a few dishes on the days that I was running late. He would cook those few dishes that he knew how to cook, and it was a struggle. But at the end of the day, what I thought to myself was, I can't be there for my son. What am I doing? I need to stop studying. But every time I tried to do that, my teachers would actually say to me, you cannot do that because you are an inspiration to your child. And that drove me. That made me, I didn't believe it at the time, but that drove me. They didn't let me quit. And I carried on studying, finished my qualification, became a qualified medical herbalist, And that was the best thing I could have done, because that did actually every day show my son that studying is important and you can achieve something by putting in hard work. And the fact that you're studying at an age where all the other people in your class are much younger than you, they have different responsibilities, they don't have as much responsibility as you, but you can push yourself and still achieve the same quality of degree as them. It really does boost your confidence. And from then on, I was quite confident in myself and decided I would start my business. I have a clinic now in Stanmore where I practice herbal medicine. I have a lot of herbs in my clinic, and I see people one-to-one, and I'm helping other women as well. So as it's all about inspiring women, I did want to say to you, most of my clientele are women, and they come to see me for all sorts of health issues, whether it be period problems or skin or hair, whatever it is. I always build in some kind of protocol for their mental well-being and support them, encourage them, because we can get trodden on. Women do sometimes get trodden on and feel very inferior and feel that they don't have time, or somebody will judge them, in-laws will judge them, or what will my husband think, or what will so-and-so think, and they hold themselves back. But you can't do that, because if you suppress your inner kind of drive, the thing that makes you happy, then that will manifest as illness. And that's what I believe. So it's all interplaying, relationships, your own passion, your own need to drive yourself forward, and health. Together, they are really, really key. So yeah, that's what I did. The other key points I wanted to point out is go with the flow. Yeah, so Mira Ben said about planning, having a goal, but also she believes in going with the flow as well. And that's what I did. So I went with the flow. When I was studying in the beginning as a child, I just went with the flow then. It took me into retail, but the retail I went into was health related. So that was a stepping stone. It's not wasted. It's not time that's wasted. It's time that helped me to grow as a person. And when I was a mature student studying as a degree in herbal medicine, I felt that I had more to give to that degree, because I understood, things like having a baby, for example. I understood about nutrition because I was cooking more. If I'd gone to uni at 18, 19, I wouldn't have understood any of those things. So it was the right thing for me. And always believe that whatever path you go on, and if you go with the flow, then you will be taken along in the right path. And just don't go against the grain. The more you go against the grain, the harder life becomes. If you go with the flow, be content, be happy and grateful, then that's going to be much more easier, and you're going to have a happier life, really. The other point, I've made those points. So basically from years ago, when women were not even allowed to study, to being in control of when you want to study, this is key. And even now, I could go on to study further if I wanted to. There's nothing to stop us studying later on in life, at whatever age. Whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 80s, you can study. There's nothing to stop. Do short courses in things that interest you. Maybe you're not so confident with technology. Maybe do a short course in some sort of IT skills. Just improve. Every day there's an opportunity to learn. And that's what I would say to you. Keep learning. Jai Shri Krishna, everyone.
Oh, wow, Varsha, that was amazing. You had a lot of struggle and still you manage and you are here. That's so inspiring. I'm sure a lot of ladies must have inspired you. And I know exactly how you feel after making ladies feel good about themselves, because I used to be a skincare specialist and I used to teach ladies how to look after their skin, wear makeup. And, I used to do before and after look, and I know exactly how you feel, after making somebody believe in themselves and confident as well. So that's great,
Yeah, definitely.
And that's amazing. You went, your children and family to look after, and still you manage, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyway, I've got a question for you.
Mhm.
How long have you been running? Oh, sorry. Being an herbalist, how did you go about registering your products? I guess you must have to register them, right?
No, the products are not registered. They're individually made, tailored to each person's needs. So each person gets a unique product.
Oh, okay.
It's a
And
tailored medicine.
oh,
So
okay.
I have all my individual herbs, and then, for example, if someone comes to me with period pain, just giving that example as it's all about women, then I would create a remedy for them based on their constitution, their diet, why I think that they have period pain. Sometimes it's to do with hormonal issues, sometimes it's to do with digestion not being so good, sometimes it's to do with stress. So
Oh,
whatever the reason is, I incorporate the right herbs for the reason. So we're getting to the root cause of why the period problem is happening in the first place. So it's very tailored. The products are not needed to be registered at all because as a qualified medical herbalist, I'm qualified to formulate and dispense.
okay. So what about the legal issues? Did you have to sort of go into legal issues at all, or?
Yeah, so I'm a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists,
Okay.
and through them we are registered, we're not registered, sorry, we are insured through our insurance company, so all of that is covered. What other legal issues are you referring to?
Like, selling you must be selling the products, right?
I'm
So,
selling the whole service as one. So it's a consultation and the medicinal herbs that I'm actually making.
I see.
Yeah, so they
Okay,
don't need to be registered. This
so
is
you
the only
don't sort of,
profession. Yeah, this is the only profession where you don't need the medicines because I'm qualified to dispense.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you sell your products or you don't? You
I don't
just
sell
make
any
it custom,
products,
they're
no.
custom made for each
Yeah. There's the
individual.
odd supplements that I have, in clinic, but like vitamins and minerals and things like that where I feel somebody needs them. But mainly it's formulated, tailored individually.
Oh, and how do you advertise your business and so on? Like,
Yeah, so I'm on, like I said, I'm a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists, so they often refer people to me. I have my website, which you've seen, which my son created for me actually.
that's good.
Yeah, so he's been having a hand in the family business. And I have Facebook group. I'm also created another Facebook group called Harrow Health Matters, where we interconnect with other therapists and we support each other. So that's a nice little group. If you're in the health profession, do check that out because although we're talking about Harrow, it's actually global. we since lockdown we've become global. So any health practitioners are very welcome to come and join us there, and anybody that is interested in health can meet the practitioners on there. So that's a Facebook group. I'm on all the other social media channels as well, Twitter and Instagram and all of that, yeah.
Well, that's good. These days, social media has made everything so easy.
Yes.
Like today too, we are connected on
To be
Zoom.
honest though, all my clients came initially from the school gates. I would be at the school gates talking to mums and they'd ask me, oh, my hair's really falling out. What do you think I should do? And, it just goes on from there and then they become a client. Then they tell their friend and then it's just word of mouth, and it just spreads like that. So I think that's the best way because, if it's helped someone else and they're passing on that information to another third party, I think that's really nice, that we're sharing the love, we're sharing the support to each other.
Yeah, I know in this kind of business, word of mouth is the key. I can understand.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you must be trying everything on yourself too. Your skin, your hair looks
To be
so
honest, I don't give
healthy.
you anything I have never tried myself. So even if it's
see.
bitter, even if it's the strong taste, I've tried it and I know that, you know, I'll warn you, like this one's going to be bitter for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you must have inspired a lot of ladies here that, you know, you can even study at later stage, you
Yes.
know, like you
So
did.
I have actually decided that I wanted to mentor other herbalists because I found it difficult when I first started. Like, how do I start a business? Because if you've been somebody that works in another business and have never run your own business, then it's a big shock. You know, you're not only doing the work of the actual herbalism, but you're actually doing your accounts, you're doing your marketing, you're doing so many other things that you've never done before. So I found that quite difficult, and the National Institute of Medical Herbalists gave me a mentor to work with who was extremely helpful to me. So then when I became qualified and finished my mentoring, I actually decided to mentor others who then went on to, you know, practice all over the country. So I've mentored about 10-15 people since as well.
I can imagine you've achieved a lot, and I'm so pleased for you, and congratulations.
I just
And
hope it inspires someone else who may have felt that either they've done the wrong kind of studying and they've left their passion behind, or
yeah,
they've never studied and thought, oh, it's too late for me. It's not.
it's
You know,
not,
you
yeah,
can, you
it's
can.
never too late, you know.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
please,
never too
you
late.
know, inquire about your course, inquire about a short course to begin with, see how you cope. Or, you know, there's so many options now. You could do Open University, you could study at home.
Yeah,
You know, the world of technology has opened up since the pandemic, so I'm sure there are a lot more courses online.
online, yeah.
So please, if you feel that you've missed out on your studying, don't. Just start, and you'll start to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people here must have made up their mind to start something from next week. You
Yes,
never
let me know.
know.
Let me know
Yeah.
if you're going to go and study. I'd be happy to support you.
Yeah, no, that would be nice. So, like for the audience, Varsha is there to help you out if you need help. And thank you, Varsha. And
Thank you so
we
much.
really admire and congratulations once
You're very
again.
welcome.
And
If
best
anyone
wishes
wants
to you.
to get in touch, just you can just Google me, Varsha Herbalist. You'll find me very easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for the
Bye. Thank you.
opportunity today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Varsha-ben. A true inspiration to the Lohana community, I should say right now. વર્ષાબેનને સાંભળીને આપણે જાણવા મળ્યું કે ગમે તે ઉંમરે ભણવા જવાય. એટલે વર્ષાબેનને આપણે બધાને આટલો પ્રોત્સાહ આપ્યો છે. તો લેટ્સ ટેક ધેટ ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટી એન્ડ મૂવ ઇટ ફોરવર્ડ. સો આઈ હોપ કે અહીંયા જેટલા બૈરાઓ હોય ને એમને થતું હોય કે આપણે ના ભણી શકીએ તો આપણે જરૂર ભણી શકીએ ને વર્ષાબેન ઇઝ અ પ્રાઇમ એક્ઝામ્પલ ઓફ ધેટ. Moving on swiftly to my next speaker. I have a passion for glasses, and who else but Radhika Ben Radia. Now I know who to approach, and here comes the Lohana discount. This is called Lohana networking. Radhika is not only an optician, but owns a couple of Specsavers too. Radhika is truly inspirational, and like I would say, a superwoman who runs a business, a household, and above all is a mother of two, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. How do you do it? I want to know what this woman drinks to keep her going. Radhika Ben, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about my journey in business on this really great platform to hopefully inspire other women. And on that note, International Women's Day, I just wanted to say, it's, you know, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. And I love the way that International Women's Day has just grown and grown over the years. And it's great that we can celebrate it, just really to remind the world at large that men and women are no different where work is concerned. And recognizing the skills that women have in all areas of life and work means that there's just so much more equality nowadays. And there's no doubt about it that in the working world, women have really drawn the shorter straw, so to speak, in a really male-dominated environment. So being a female, I think you should never really hold back. When I was growing up, my initial role models were my mum and my dad. My mum was an optometrist and my dad was a pharmacist and owned his own pharmacy. So I grew up around both parents working for the NHS, but also working in business settings. And this was really my introduction and my inspiration. So I spent so many school holidays from the age of 8 working in my dad's pharmacy, which gave me a real insight into and also understanding of the professions and the opportunities to be able to be your own boss. So I went on to study optometry in 2004 at Aston University, where also around the same time I began my career in Specsavers, because I wanted to start working from a young age. So I understood sort of the retail setting and more about the company and about the world of work, and also to be more independent and earn my own money. So I continued my career in the company after I graduated, where I completed my pre-registration year to qualify as an optometrist, and then build up my skills and my experience to prepare for my next chapter. So I was always ambitious and driven from a young age, and I was given that opportunity to run a business from a young age. So Specsavers actually gave me that platform to become a joint venture partner and to have the opportunity to run my own practices as a director of my own store. So Specsavers partners work with optometrists and retail managers to own and run their own stores. The Specsavers model provides you with the tools to run your business on a day-to-day basis. However, the real incentivization is that we are entitled to the profits of the business. So this means that you need to learn how to run a business in the retail environment, but also within a larger corporate structure. So you get the best of both worlds, and you get to be entrepreneurial, as the onus is always on you to drive your people, drive your sales, your revenues, and your profitability. But you also have a responsibility to ensure you're running the store in line with the company's ethos and the values, given that it's such a strong brand with such a large market share in the UK. So back to me, I was fortunate to have been given the opportunity to take on the 2 practices in Southeast London at the age of 25. And I subsequently went on to run these practices for 7 years, which is where my learning, my highs, my lows, and the realities of running your own business really started. And all of these skills, it's not something you really learn at school or university. There's no published paper about how to run the business. All of these things are sort of on-the-job learning. And I really felt that it was the real world. And if I look back, and when I look back, yes, I can say I was passionate. Yes, I was driven. But what I've also realized was that I was also young, inexperienced and naive. So I started off running my team alongside other business partners. We had 50 staff between both practices, and I developed all my skills of HR, people management, financial planning, operations, marketing, you name it, alongside building and strengthening my own clinical skills as a professional. So all of these managerial skills I learned on the job. And I always went by making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, because you always do a better job next time and the next time. And there was a lot of less awareness back then about, the importance of self-reflection, and a lot less management and leadership courses out there. So all of my learning was done on the job. And during this time, I learned to sort of step out my comfort zone, which we all may not like doing, and it is hard. But in a role as a leader, you sometimes have no choice, and you have to face the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I did, from having those really difficult and challenging conversations, which I initially hated having, and leading in times of adversity, like in COVID. But what makes me really passionate in my role as a leader is inspiring others within the business and giving them the platform to be what they want to be. Because for me, people are the heart of your business, and empowering them, developing them, and mentoring them is what I enjoy the most. And to watch others grow in your business and succeed, that, watching their achievement is also my achievement. And I would say I'm a people's person, and having good people in your business will not only benefit them, but also benefit your business. And that's what makes me happiest in my job. And that's what makes me want to carry on day in, day out, and gets me out of bed every morning. One particular high on people is, and highlight, was being shortlisted as a practice for the top 5 Specsavers stores in the country for excellence in people development, which stemmed from my passion in investing in people. So whilst this accolade was extremely rewarding to receive, even more so was the journey in getting there. One thing I've learned whilst managing people is you don't motivate them by paying them more, but it's more around giving them the appreciation and the gratitude for doing a good job, and showing them that respect by listening to them. So I successfully went on and grew the businesses during that time. And then I sold them 3 years ago to relocate to 2 other Specsavers practices more locally to where I live, knowing that I had to manage a really young family with my husband to make my life easier, travel wise, and so that I could work closer to my family. So I was fortunate enough to have 2 kids who are now 2 and 4. And there has been a lot of sacrifices along the way that I've had to make to be able to pursue my job and continue. As an example, cutting both my maternity leaves quite short and getting back to work pretty quickly. But I can say that I've had a really good support mechanism around me with a supportive husband and 2 sets of really supportive parents on both sides that have really allowed me to continue what I love doing. So I would say that it is possible, and you shouldn't hold back, but be measured about what you do. You can't always have it your way, and you need to learn to compromise to fit in your kids and your family around your work, which I found the biggest challenge. For example, I work every single Sunday. So as a family, we only have 1 day a week together. So we try and fit in all the kids' parties, all the kids' activities, going out, you name it, on a Saturday. But I would say to continue your passion, and just because you're taking a break out of work, whether it's short-term, long-term, having kids, it doesn't mean that you can't do what you want to do. There's so many different opportunities out there available now, which allows you to take a break in your career. And then so many also good return to work programs, new business ventures, you name it. So don't ever feel guilty about the choices that you make. You don't need to hit the heights of your career. You just need to follow what makes you happy. So for me, the way I define success for myself, it's really evolved over the years. So success at 25 is I want to do a good job. I want to make some good money. I want to sort of build that foundation for the rest of my life. Success at 30 plus is how am I going to manage my kids and my family around my work? And then success at 40 is very different. So I've realized that life is just a marathon and it's a journey. It's not a 100-meter race to, get to the finish line. So at each stage in your life, you may need to reevaluate and reprioritize based on your circumstances at the time. So I can say I've had lots of high moments and a fair share of lows in business, but it's really about how you have the resilience to come out stronger the other end, and how you take each negative experience as a positive learning experience. So I can say that my journey hasn't been perfect, and sometimes I've had to take a step back to breathe and reflect, which is healthy and absolutely fine to do so. If I were to give tips to anyone starting out, based on my experiences, I would say that a lot of my time over the last 10 years, I've worked long hours, I've worked evenings, I've worked things around my family, and I look back and I think, was I actually home enough? Probably not, but I loved every minute of it, and I still do. But spending more time with my kids, my family, having me time, and fitting in time for your hobbies is so, so important. Self-reflection is also so important, and we sometimes don't really do enough of it, I feel. So take the opportunity to attend those leadership courses, take time to develop yourself, and take some time out to self-reflect and learn to be efficient with your time. It's all about managing your time well. And for me, with a family with really young kids, who sometimes cause chaos in my household, it's every single minute and second counts. So time is so precious. So if you learn to manage your time effectively, you will get a lot more done. I'd also say get the most out of every encounter and conversation, and make every conversation count and be as meaningful and as impactful as possible. You never know what you might pick from a networking event, and what kind of link you might make that might help you strive. Also, I would say is don't always strive to be perfect, which I had a knack of doing, and I think women do have a knack of doing. And I think women always strive to be 100% perfect, but you don't need to be. 80% is absolutely fine. Do men bother about being 100%? No, they probably don't. So why should all the pressure be on us to be 100%? Don't worry about going the extra mile all the time. You be you, so be you and do what you enjoy. Whether you're in business, in a job you love, and whether you're that super mum who I admire, which is probably the hardest job of all, or whether you're doing a bit of everything, you do what's best for you. And if you do want to start up your own venture, have the self-belief that you can make it a success. And remember that success always starts with failure. So be focused, be resilient, and work hard. And just a quote that I love to end from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan said that I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was wonderful. I like that quote. Anyway, Radhika, I can't imagine you've done so much in 10 years. I've seen you right from you were a little baby, and it's really unbelievable you've reached so far. Okay, I've got a question for you. Did you always see yourself as an entrepreneur, or?
I sort of had that inspiration. So because my dad had a business from when I was born, I've always worked with him in the pharmacy, sort of every weekend, every holiday, and I've always seen what he does. And I've always grown up in that sort of business setting. So for me, going into a career, I always wanted to make more out of it. That's me personally. And I had a lot of colleagues along the way. So when I was 18, 19, working in Specsavers, I had a few friends who were 3-4 years older than me, and they were sort of going into owning their own businesses and their own franchises within Specsavers. And I just took so much inspiration out of them, how confident they were. And it's all about engaging with people more experienced than you and, you know, learning from them and inspiring you. And I was honestly really, really inspired by my peers. And that's what sort of pushed me to sort of want to, you know, continue my, you know, journey within the company and become a director. And even though it's been so hard, and, you know, I've had struggles, I've had good times, I've had bad times, but I would never change it for the world. And I would want to continue what I'm doing because I'm a people's person. It's very much a people's job. And it allows you to have those entrepreneurial skills, running your own business, but also supporting people and developing people at the same time. And that's what I enjoy the most.
That's good. And how do you manage your business when you are away on holidays? Is it difficult to manage, or
I think
fine?
I think a sign of a good business is that business needs to run as well as if you're in the business and if you're not in the business. It's all about setting up a good set of people in the business, a really good structure, giving people, you know, their defined roles and responsibilities, set their targets, you know, set their job roles. And if everything is working like clockwork, then if I'm away on holiday, I would have the, you know, I've got the confidence that the business will run as well, whether I'm there or whether I'm not there. I also have a business partner, so we both work well together. And so if I'm not there, then, you know, she will cover me. And then if I'm there, then I will, you know, if she's not there, then I'll cover her. So Specsavers is actually a joint venture partnership. So there's always two partners.
That's good. Okay, I think you have answered this question, which I got. How do you run the business alongside married life? You have answered, but if you want to add anything more to it, like how do you run business alongside with your married life?
It is hard, but it's all about having. It's all about being really organized. So you have to be organized at home. And because my kids are so young, so I have my youngest at nursery and my oldest that's just started school. Between me and my husband, we're like a team. We work together, and we have to sort of pre-plan whether it's who's going to cook that day, who's going to pick up the kids, who's going to drop the kids. And, you know, having that organization at home is really, really useful, and it just avoids chaos during your week. So pre-planning, you know, that organization is really, really important. And also flexibility. So, you know, my husband's very, you know, is always really, really sort of flexible around me, and I'm flexible around him. And, you know, if it doesn't work, then I've got my parents nearby as well, which are also, you know, really, really helpful. So somehow in, you know, a very chaotic world with, you know, really young kids, we make it work. So yeah, just trying to keep it going that way.
You are one superwoman, I would say, right? Yeah, okay. Did you get any family support to set up your business, or you just did it on your own?
So in terms of support, I had a lot of moral support from my family and from my husband. In terms of financial support, when I bought into the businesses, bought over the shares, I actually, the money that I earned from when I started working when I was 18 up until I was 25, I had saved up a pot, so I did put some money in myself, which was my own money, and the rest of, you know, the money that I had to put in, I actually took out as a business loan because I wanted to do it on my own. I didn't really want any external financial help, because it was that sense of achievement for me. It was, if I put my own money in and I take out a loan, then it incentivizes me to work hard just to be able to pay off my loan and see the rewards afterwards.
That's good. I think you have answered this, but if you want to add anything more to it, who and what was your inspiration?
So inspiration, I would say, from my peers, from my parents. I had inspiration from my husband, who really pushed me to go into Specsavers from a young age. Also, the other person that's also really inspirational is the founder of Specsavers, who's a lady called Dame Mary Perkins. And she actually started up the company, I think it was 1984. And she's actually an optometrist, a professional just like myself, and she's still there, still live and kicking today, still presenting, taking part in, you know, International Women's Day, lots of talks. And for her as the women, with the support of her husband, to be able to take this company from 1 or 2 small practices in Bristol to what it is now is really a true inspiration for me.
That's good. Congratulations for doing so much at very young age. I'm sure you must have inspired a lot of young ladies out there. So thanks very much. And Jai Shri Krishna, and thank you to all those who have joined on Zoom, Facebook and YouTube today to hear these young, inspiring ladies. I'm sure everybody must have got really inspired from their journey. So thank you for joining us. Rajul, over to you.
Mira, I just want to know, what do you have for breakfast in the morning? That's what I need to have. You're one inspirational lady. And in the future, instead of hearing Mary Perkins' name, I would like to hear your name and you being that inspirational speaker as you have been today. So moving on. The next speakers I should introduce, and this has really blown my mind away when I looked at their website and I was like, wow, I was literally, wow. So both these women are truly full of power and energy. They own a company called Yogi Power, which are cards and games for children. When I say children, I mean these games are for those children within us, within that child, within ourselves. So the age range, from what I've read, is 3 to 103, and I fit into that category of 3, obviously. Without saying too much, I'm going to pass you on to these 2 amazing women, Divyaben Hindocha and Nehaben Swaminathan. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you so much, Rajul Ben. What a lovely introduction. So my name is Divya Hindocha. Thank you so much for having us here on this lovely panel. What a lovely and powerful way to empower other women. So thank you so much. It's an honor. My journey started quite a few years back, actually. I've got a history of teaching young years, and I've been teaching for 8 years. And a lot of that came from, like Rajuben was saying, just the inner child in me, how much I related with children and how much fun I used to have with children. But after having my own children, I realized that it was becoming quite a challenge to work with children and to come home to children. And I needed a bit more of that adult inspiration. Having only worked with children for 8 years, I realized that actually, what else could I do going forward? And I took a really, really hard decision to actually take a break from work. And I was so lucky and so privileged with the support of my husband, my family, my parents, my in-laws. They understood that and they supported me with my choice, and allowed me to almost take a step back and focus on what I wanted and what I needed to provide a bit of stability for myself, to bring that harmony back into my home, and yeah, just to find out who I really was as Divya, not as a teacher, not as a mom, but just me as myself. And that's how I came across yoga. Just randomly, I was walking past and I thought, do you know what, let me start something new. I'd never done it before. So I joined a class with a friend of mine doing hot yoga. And I realized actually I found so much joy in just having an hour to myself, of shifting that energy around my body, and just how much it allowed me to focus on myself. And then when I got home, I was so much happier, I was lighter. And I thought, you know what, actually, this is what I need to do more. And without feeling that guilt and without thinking that you're being selfish, I thought, you know what, let me figure out what I can do. So like I mentioned, I took a break from work and focused on yoga, bringing more joy to my family. But when I thought about it going forward, I thought, what can I continue to do? I still had that passion of working with children, and I loved yoga. So actually, my next journey was combining the two together, and I qualified as a children's yoga teacher just before the pandemic. And in June 2020, I think it was now, I founded Divine Yoga. So I am a children's yoga teacher now, and I love that I can have my two passions and bring the joy to children from the ages of 4 all the way through to teenagers. But how my journey started as a businesswoman was definitely because it was very because it was one of those things where I taught in a nursery, and I thought, how could I run a business? Like, I had no idea where to even begin. And with the support of my husband, he thought, you know what, just start running an online class. So I did run an online class, and the feedback I got from the parents, the children, was so overwhelming that I thought, actually, do you know what, I could offer more to these children than like I gave myself credit for. And a year and a half later, here I am now running classes in the local community, in local schools. And yeah, I'm really proud of taking that first step after being a little bit lost and being where I am now. But that wasn't enough. And I thought, you know what, I'm reaching schools, I'm reaching the local community, but I want more. How can I teach the joy and the power of yoga to children all across the UK and all across the world? Which is when I had the conversation with Neha of Yogi Power. So Neha will tell you a little bit about how she began her journey.
Yeah, so just before we tell you a little bit more about Yogi Power, just a little bit of my background. I thank you again. I feel really honoured to be on here. And my parents are Viren and Gita Hindocha, who are on here today. A lot of you know them. It's really nice to see so many familiar faces, especially from the Chiswick Garba Lohana days. So it's been amazing growing up in this community and being in a position now that we can give something back. I think growing up, we were surrounded by, teachings of the value of hard work. So my granddad, he was an entrepreneur, owned a sugar factory in Mivani. My dad started his practice when I was just born. So this idea of being enterprising, I think, is in our blood. It's part of our community, but somewhere along the line kind of fell into this idea of what we should be doing. And I think our culture and our society sometimes pushes us towards some of these ideals. So I did economics at university, even though I, to be honest, didn't really want to, but I didn't really know what else to do. And then jumped into investment banking, which is what a lot of people at that time were trying to do. I always knew deep down that it wasn't really for me, but again, feeling sort of like that's what I should be doing, is getting a good job and then hopefully meeting a nice boy to get married. So I was like kind of on that journey. I was doing quite well. I was on the women's leadership panel there. There were aspects of it that I did enjoy. And then I got married. I had my daughter. So after I had my daughter, she's now 7. I changed my role slightly because investment banking is obviously very intense hours. It's very difficult to kind of have a family life with that. And I wanted both, right? Modern day women, we want a bit of everything. So I wanted to be able to nurture and look after my family as well as keep my career. I was due to be promoted to director level. That was really important to me and I didn't want to lose that. So I changed my role to try and help me keep a balance. And went into more digital product design, where actually that really opened up that creative energy that was living inside, that voice that kept telling me, this is not for you, you need to do something a bit more creative. And I think it's probably then that, I was kind of doing all these things, juggling all these balls, and God said, right, she thinks she's really good at multitasking, let's give her twins. So I fell pregnant. I had twin boys. So I now have 3 young children under 6. But it was really, really hard. And I have to say, I had the support of my mum, my family. I'm really, really lucky. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here today. But it still wasn't enough for me. Like, I still feel like, when you go through motherhood, you do lose some of your identity. And I went from one world to another of just being at home with the children all the time. Again, so many unknowns, so much uncertainty. And I think at that point where there were times when I just felt like I was drowning and I didn't really know what to do. And I myself started going into more mindfulness techniques. So breath work, meditation, journaling when I couldn't sleep at night. I remember my Bam Bapaji doing like Kapalbhati and all this pranayama breathing, and it was all coming back to me. And I found so much solace in those practices then. And actually, my children joined me on that journey. So my daughter, who was then 3, would sit with me and do meditation with me, and we would color, and we would just talk. We would both journal together. And I realized that actually these kinds of practices, obviously we've heard about them, but none of us really do them, or we think, oh, we should do this, should do that. And I think I realized the power in some of these, and the power in making them a ritual, embedding them into your day-to-day life. So I started curating mindfulness toolkits for children and families, which are things like an aromatherapy dough, a journal, affirmation cards, all these sorts of mindset tools. That was my first business, called Little Zen Rebels. I certified as a breath coach. So I'm a breath coach now. I'm running a workshop. I've created a mini meditation book for children, and a synergy of both of our businesses. We were walking in the park one day and we decided we need to bring our passions together, because ultimately we, and what Yogi Power is today, is on a mission to help children raise their game from the inside out. So really working on these internal mindset tools through yoga and mindfulness, and the main powers of family connection and playing. We decided to bring all those 4 elements together. So for any of you that haven't seen it, this is Yogi Power. It's based on 3 of our values, holistic well-being, one of the biggest ones.
So I think throughout our journey, we realized just how important it was for us to focus on different aspects of ourselves in order to give back to our families and to our children. And like Neha mentioned, like, our children have been on this journey with us, which has really helped us with actually part of parenting as well, when we're having to deal with tantrums, and actually just bringing that level down to keeping them calm through yoga, through breath work, and just as a family, how we've together come on this journey. Because as a whole, you can focus on academics, you can focus on the business side of things, but what we wanted to encourage and instill in children was just the whole holistic well-being, whether it's mental, physical, and spiritual, and obviously the emotional side.
So just to share some of we're quite early in our journey, but one of the biggest learnings we had was there's this quote, which is, good decisions are expensive, but poor decisions cost a fortune. So for anyone out there who's thinking about starting something, especially in a product-based business, sometimes it feels tempting to sometimes cut corners or bargain or go for the cheapest thing. That's probably going to cost you a lot more in the long term. The other one is, it's actually a book by an entrepreneur called Marie Forleo called Everything is Figure-Outable. And it's this mindset and this idea, which is part of a growth mindset actually, that everything is figure-outable. Like, there's going to be so many things that you don't know how to do, especially on the early stages of being an entrepreneur, and especially when you're changing direction completely. But don't let that fear hold you back. Let that fear fuel you, and you'll find the answers and go for it. And the last one, which is all about kind of creating a ritual in your character, is every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. And that's by James Clear. He's written a book called Atomic Habits, which again talks about these small daily changes that build up over time. So it's about creating that ripple effect that will then help you evolve into that person you want to be. So even for us, now as working mums, we're just mindful that even for our children, if they can instill a little bit of like breathing before bedtime or journaling or a positive affirmation, it just plants that seed that you might not see the results straight away, but you'll see the long-term benefits.
Okay, very inspiring journey. Neha, I can't believe, I just remember it was yesterday when we were doing family Bangras.
I know.
Remember? Yeah, you were still little and you've achieved so much, And Divya, I remember when you started yoga classes and things like that, and now you've reached quite a lot. So I'm so happy for you girls, and keep it up. And I'm sure you must have inspired a lot of ladies here. I have a question here. It is a very unusual idea. And how and from where did you get such an inspiration? I think you have answered in your talk, but if you want to sort of expand it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I think from both of ourselves, finding our own sort of reset of energy and be feeling motivated by some of these practices, we kept thinking, how can we do this in a way that is fun, educational, but also keeps the family and the children engaged? So we as mums had card sets at home, and there was yoga videos and there's other things out there, but I think there was something missing, and we felt like there was a gap to have something that integrates mindfulness, so using positive affirmations, and yoga together in a way that's screen free, so you're not constantly looking at your phones or the TV. So here's some of our cards as an example. We created like a set of 10 different characters. Each character has a name, they have a personality. The children talk about them as if they're real people. So the way we've seen children connect with them has been amazing. Each card has its own affirmation that's aligned with the pose. So the idea is, if you come into boat or warrior pose, you think like that as well. So it's not just about posing on a mat. I think another big thing for us was, even we had this perception of yoga and meditation and mindfulness that it has to be about stillness and about being quiet and clearing your mind, and that feels impossible for many of us, especially in our lifestyle today. So we wanted it to be fun, and actually to show people that it can be dynamic. Like, yoga is not just about posing on a mat, and meditation is not just about sitting in silence. There's more to it that's about bringing awareness and presence into your body and really building on those connections with yourself and the people around you. So we did a lot of testing with children. We involved a lot of our family, our friends, in the very early versions of the cards, from sketching out characters to the design. We must have gone through over 100 iterations of this. But the idea for us was that we need it to be able to be engaging for children. We want them to pick it up off the shelf and play with it, and not to be something that a mum will buy and it will just collect dust on the shelf later.
I think one of the other things we realized was this was a product for children. As parents, we want them to be calm, we want them to be a certain way, but actually it was about connecting with the child directly and thinking, how can they get the most out of the game and out of the benefits from the game? And that was through different games and different activities that we've created, and so just bringing it down to their level, I think that was the key. And that way, as parents, we didn't have to encourage them to do it too much, because they initially connected with it instinctively, and we found that from a lot of the other parents as well, that the children were just drawn to it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it must benefit a lot of children, because nowadays kids are so hyperactive. So I'm sure they must be good. Yeah, that's true. Like Rajul mentioned that your website is fantastic, and even I feel the same. How long did it take you to create it? Did you have help, or did you did you have somebody, a webmaster, to design it for you, or how did it happen?
Yeah, so we had an idea of how we wanted the website to be. And I think it was in creating it and creating our design, we realized a lot of it was through pictures and through graphics. So we had our photo shoot with the family and thought, what's some nice photos of either the cards, of the children playing it, and of us, because a lot of people connect through a business and through a brand, through the people, through the owners. But in actually creating the website, it was almost like writing a story, which was quite nice. And it was quite it was a lot of hard work, but in terms of creating the content, it was quite straightforward. We were lucky enough that we got some help from some designers in India. So yeah, that was helpful. But I think there was definitely issues with either time difference or trying to communicate our voice across of how we wanted things quite specifically. But
I think it's not a smooth or easy path. But I think the key that I would say to anyone wanting to do it is be really clear on what you want, and I feel like a lot of the developers we work with try to push us back with certain ideas, saying, "Oh, just do this instead," or "It doesn't matter," trying to make us go more simple. And I think we had a vision in our mind of what we wanted, and it might sometimes feel like you're going uphill to fight somebody else's opinion. But I think if it really matters to you, stick to it and go for it, because at the end of the day, it's you, isn't it? It's your brand, it's your story, it's your passion that's out there. So yeah, we did hire a team, because I think that nowadays there are lots of websites that you can sort of build from templates yourself. But I think we wanted something a bit more customized. So we did do that. So it took us longer. It took us a good couple of months. Actually, just writing the content took quite a long time. But again, it really mattered to us that our story was there and it felt very personal.
Oh, that's good. And now you must be feeling that it was worthwhile, right?
Yeah, exactly. There were definitely days where we wanted to just give up on it, but it's worth it in the end. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah.
I think sorry, go on.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think earlier to what Neha was saying, if you have a vision of something, just I think one of the other speakers mentioned it, is just believe in yourself. You won't be able to either articulate it straight away, or they won't understand straight away. But just if you have an idea, just stay focused with it and don't give up.
Oh, that's good. That's true. Yeah, for everybody, right? I mean, yeah. Okay, do you have anybody working with you, like sorting out your legal stuff, accounts, etc., or you just two of you doing everything?
Just two of us. We put our husbands on the board of directors, mainly looking at the spreadsheets and the money stuff. But yeah, it's just two of us. Even we've thought about kind of the social media side, because that's a huge part of building a brand and a business now, which is actually so intense. You can hire someone to take over that whole piece. But I think, again, because it's such a personal and passionate project for us, our voice and our messages can only be authentic if they come from us. So I think we feel like, actually, and maybe this is also a female thing, and we feel like we want to control everything, and we want to be so right now we are doing it ourselves. We're at the moment talking to schools, trying to get Yogi Power into different schools, education, and there are days when it is hard, because obviously we've got 5 children between us. But again, I think when you're fueled by passion, you kind of just make it happen, don't you?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
And where do you, with what we're doing, we're definitely seeing how proud our children are of us.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially the older one, right?
Yeah, they're so proud, like saying, "Oh, my mum is a yoga teacher," or "My mum is a breathwork teacher. Like, come and buy Yogi Power." Like, it's so nice. They're an extension of our voice, but also they believe in what we do, because we're seeing the benefits in them and they're seeing the benefits. So it's really nice that it's not just us. I mean, there are definitely times when we test game ideas, and even the names of the characters and the personality of the characters, they were put through our children. So I mean, they're definitely on board as part of our employees, shall we say.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have problem them to take over in future, right? I mean,
that'd be the dream.
So your business is going to run very long way. Yeah, that's true. Okay, this is a bit. In working in partnership, is it difficult when you have disagreements? Do you have disagreements at all, or you must be, right?
Yeah, we do. And I think actually the fact that we are both quite different, we have completely different backgrounds, quite different personalities. It's like that yin yang balance, right? You need a balance. I think if we were both the same, it'd probably be even worse. So one of the things I actually did want to talk about was the power of collaboration. And I think when you see it as a synergy and a collaboration, and you try and leverage each other's skills and strengths, then it's this idea, isn't it? Collaborate over compete. And again, I think growing up, I remember at school, and a lot of the girls that went to all girls schools, it was very competitive. Like everyone's trying to be the leader. But I think if you go in with a mind frame that we're just equal and we're here to help each other, we always have each other's back, then it doesn't matter. But we did learn a few times that, communication is just so important in any partnership. I think there was a few occasions very early on where you might not feel comfortable saying something, you don't want to criticize the other person, and it doesn't, it's not like that. But unless you get it off your chest and you say it in a constructive way, you're never going to move forward. So we actually do this exercise every Friday, which is called a retro, that comes from like an agile technology practice, where you set half an hour and you each kind of write down your thoughts, just brainstorm your thoughts on your own. You think about what was good in the week, what was not so good in the week, what you are wondering about, and what you think you should keep doing. So 4 categories. You just write post-it notes. And then that way, every Friday, it's almost like a reset, like anything that either of us is like not sure about or wasn't happy with or anything just comes out in the open. And we just spend a minute talking about each one and then do the actions. And then you almost start a fresh slate on Monday. So you're not holding anything in. So that is a really good practice. If for anyone working in a team or a partnership, it's really helped just to kind of
but also it's a great exercise to do for your personal life as well. If you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to like achieve, sometimes you might be lost on your path. It's a great way just to see, actually, I've not had a good week, what can I do next week to make it better? What went wrong? What did I do well and I want to do more of? And then that way your passion just comes to life a bit more.
It's brilliant. You guys make an amazing team. And I'm sure your husbands and your family must be proud of you, right?
They are. We wouldn't be here without them, to be honest. We are so lucky. So lucky.
Yeah, like Radhika and everybody else mentioned, you need family support.
Yeah,
you do. Yeah, I'm so happy for you and wish you all the best. And I'm sure a lot of young ladies must have inspired. You must have inspired them, and you had a beautiful journey. And keep up the good work. Yeah, this goes to everybody. That all the best, and you guys have done amazing work. So just keep on doing it, right? And inspire other ladies. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rajul, over to you.
So the next company that they're going to have is 2 ladies and 5 kids. So yeah, I can see them joking away, laughing at me right now. But seriously, I don't know how you 2 women do it. So well done. Like I said, I'm going to order those card games. I just want to play with them. So I'm going to do that straight after this call. I'm going and ordering them. I've got your website open, by the way. I wish if I could screen share, I would show it to you. So, okay. So thank you very much, ladies. Next, now I'm a bit confused onto what to say about this lady. I call her Smita Bhabi, as I know her. She is the backbone of the family. Whenever I get the opportunity to speak to her, she inspires me. She runs her own business called Kumon that provides high quality tuitions in maths and English. But as I call her Bhabi, she is like all other women on this group today, who has a family, in-laws, parents, and above all, kids. And most of all, the person she deals with hardest is her husband. And I know that, Smita Bhabi. If I say anything more, I'll probably sound very biased towards you, Bhabi. So I'm going to pass it over to you. So I'll pass you on to Smita Ben Galani, and I'm sure this will be interesting to listen to as well now.
Thank you, Raju. That was, yes, interesting introduction, but thank you for the introduction. It's an honor to be invited to speak today. We're celebrating International Women's Day, and I'm going to share my experiences of being what others call me as a successful businesswoman. I'm just a businesswoman. My family are all here listening in this room, so please bear with me because it's a bit nerve-wracking when you're talking on a screen and then they're sitting behind you kind of watching and listening. So please. When I was asked to share my journey, my initial thought was, why me? You know, this is because in my eyes, I'm just an ordinary woman who has faced many of life's ups and downs, dealing and reacting to them. I've risen to the challenges that have come my way, some more patiently and understandingly than others. But did that make me different? In my eyes, no. But in other people's eyes, maybe yes. Since I was asked to do this, I tried to think carefully and answer my own question, as I was happy to share my journey, but with intention to inspire and educate, as opposed to gain sympathy and pity. This is not the woman I am. I don't want sympathy and pity. So in conversation with my children, it was brought to my attention that I may have been asked this as people can see the change. You may know me for a while, and there are people watching today who've known me for quite a while, like Sandhya Masi, and a lot of my other Masis are here, and my sister and my parents and everything. But some of you don't know me and haven't seen the change. But I have changed from the day you first met me to the woman you see me today. That is my speech. This is me now. I'm the person and the businesswoman I am today because of the circumstances I faced and how I have adapted and reacted, ultimately changed to them. Change only comes through experiences. They don't have to be good or bad. They just have to have an impact and create a thought in your mind. Many times in my life, these changes have raised questions, these questions that I had no answers to at the time. Yet now that I have experience, I've understood and learnt from them. I have a few stories to share. They aren't that long, but they are personal. Some of you may take something away from here today, and so for some, it might be just a shared experience. But I will be honest that life hasn't been easy. From being born in Kisumu in Kenya, having my kindergarten years in Kampala, my very first memory of change was when we moved to the UK on the 5th of November in 1972. So out of all the speakers, I can say I must be the oldest. We came into this country with barely anything, to the point that my very fashionable mum was wearing a sari and a cardigan, and my proud father in his usual attire of all suit. Everything was just suit, and to date he does that. The weather conditions didn't agree with us, and neither did my expectation of meeting family that I didn't even know existed. Obviously, my parents' generation had their struggles. Many of you on this call today will relate. But my mum used to work in a factory and was the breadwinner for a while whilst I was still in school. Along with my grandmother, we used to care for my sister whilst my parents were working long shifts. Those type of shifts don't exist anymore, by the way. Now it's 9 to 5 or 12 hours or whatever it is. So my mother worked really, really hard, and both my parents actually, and they saved to move into our own house. Having to compromise in life was normal. From moving in with family in a small house, doing duties in the house that were for adults, but done by children, mostly me, and not being able to afford weather-appropriate clothes all year round was heartbreaking. I remember it all. My mother was my first role model. She used to walk 3 miles to school, 3 miles to work, earn £13 a week, of which £10 was rent, and she used to fend for us on just £3 for food and living. My father was diagnosed with jaundice, so was out of work for a while, so my mum was the sole learner. I've been fortunate in my life to see and be brought up by a woman that I inspire to be like. It was in front of me the whole time of my life. In those days, they didn't have International Women's Day. But in every single household, there was a woman empowered enough to run the house facing so many struggles whilst the men went to work. Don't get me wrong, men did work, they do work, but so did the women. The difference is, before, the house was the workplace of women. And now, women, as women, we have more opportunities and acceptance in the workplace than we ever did. Some of the ladies who've spoken before me have proved that. Now, whether this is change due to movements, equality, and feminism is all subjective. But in my eyes, women have far more experience multitasking and multi-thinking, as it started from a very young age. Back to my story. Things got worse, responsibilities got harder, and everyone was working 2 jobs in my family. I say working, but I was being schooled and left the duties of cooking. I was only 8 at the time, by the way. Parents were working 2 jobs, and my sister, well, she was my little sister, and she had school. I was and am fortunate to have a sister. She is younger and naturally wasn't exposed to as many hardships during the early stages of our move to the UK. We didn't spend much time together as she was separated from us every week. We only met her on weekends when we had time off work, but she kept the glue in the family. As a first child, I was restricted in many ways. I use the term restricted as that's what it's referred to as now. But in reality, at that time, in those circumstances, it was normal. Although I failed all my GCSEs and had to work double hard to reset them, plus get additional qualifications and A-levels, all whilst working at my parents' shop. I wasn't allowed to go to university. My studies couldn't continue as I wanted to study at a university away from home, and that wasn't the done thing in those days. You had to stay at home. So I skipped that stage in my life, and without realizing, I had fast forwarded to the next stage. Any guesses? Marriage. Yes, it was arranged and traditional. I didn't really get a say. That was the next thing on the tick box. At the age of 22, I was promoted from a sister and a daughter to being a wife, daughter-in-law, mummy, kaki, bhabhi, and oh yes, still daughter and sister. Title change, right? Not exactly what I wanted on my business card as a title, but that's how life happened. Well, that's what everyone said. We all do that. We are all so affected by what everyone says, what people do, and what they will think. But what about me? I decided that my sister wouldn't have to face this speed through life and supported her to make sure she had the opportunities I didn't. She went to university, she got married, but the difference is she did it in her time, in her way. I'm very proud to say that she too is a very successful businesswoman of numerous businesses. I lived in an extended family after marriage where there were double standards, from clothing to housework and also rent, from those that were blood relations and for those that were married in. An example of this is during the weekends and after work, I was not permitted to wear Western attire in the house, only Indian. I couldn't believe that in the 20th century this still existed. I had come from a very modern family to a very traditional family. I could not comprehend why daughters could wear whatever they wanted, but daughter-in-laws had very strict restrictions and could not challenge this view. I couldn't deal with it and had to change. We moved out and the next phase of my life started. I had a new promotion, again, of being a mother and naturally faced with new challenges, from meeting ends meet with household expectations to working a full-time job. At one point, my daughter's health was critical. She was only 18 months old at the time. I resigned from my job as my male boss made me choose between my job and my child. I started looking for a new job and redundancy hit our household. It wasn't working. So we sold up and left the country and moved to Congo in Africa to make a new life for ourselves away from the challenges that the UK held and the restrictions that the family held. What a culture shock. I was now a housewife and we were in a war zone. It wasn't safe to go out unless you had a police chauffeur. My children adapted really well to the new surroundings. But as I've learned through time, children accept change much quicker than us as adults. Eventually, I was offered a job in an international school in Congo where I self-taught myself to teach kindergarten, reception, and year 1 children. It was the most rewarding and self-satisfying experience of all time. I made my own identity. I was no longer known as Mrs. Galani. I'm now Mrs. Smita. Although it didn't last long, we moved back to the UK 4 years later, as some of you may know. But I brought the enjoyment of education back with me to the UK. I became a Kumon instructor as a result of my children being behind in the school curriculum. I wasn't proud that they were behind in school, but Africa's education was very different to the UK. So I enrolled them into Kumon. And for those of you who don't know what Kumon is, it's the world's largest after-school maths and English study program for children of all ages and abilities. 6 months into my children being enrolled into the Kumon program, I was presented with an opportunity this time, not a challenge, to run my own business and become a Kumon instructor. Needless to say, I'm still one now, and therefore said yes. 20 years ago, it was a part-time business. You could juggle a family and earn a decent living whilst being your own boss. However, times have evolved, opportunities have grown, and I have understood that the more you want to grow as an individual, the more you have to invest in you. Me was my business. Now, I can't say it's part-time, impossible. It's not even full-time. And as some of the other ladies have expressed today, I am the business. So if you have a business, you are the business. As I grew emotionally, my business grew, and so did success. I have been recognized for many achievements, such as owning multiple Kumon centers, representing the UK at international conferences, being ranked #1 in Europe and Africa out of over 1,200 centers. I've also made many of my students grow into young, successful adults, achieving great results and fulfill their dream and my dream of going to a university of their choice and securing wonderful roles in the outside world, as well as my own 3 children doing well in their education and successful careers. My eldest daughter is also a very successful businesswoman. I did well, I'm doing well, and the family are proud of me. That's what I think people understand, that I'm passionate and proud of all my hard work, and they can see that. My sister, to quote, says that you are an inspiration to me, but I would think and reply only because you can see the hard work and the change in me. My personal and professional experiences have taught me that anything is achievable. All that is needed, as somebody else said, is believing in yourself and let others believe in you. Show them that you can take an opportunity and you can adapt, change, and execute. This isn't boardroom talk, but a learning that I have gained. Life brings many challenges to everyone. It's all relative to our own lives. As I progressed through life, these challenges were preparing me for all the opportunities and success. My greatest motivators and fans have been none other than the 3 men I love: my father, my husband, and my son. My unconditional support has been by 4 women that have had a huge role to play in my success: my mother, my sister, and my 2 wonderful daughters, without each of whom I wouldn't be here today. My mother, for the wonderful life, upbringing, and values that she has given me. My sister, for always being at my every beck and call, and always motivating and believing in me when I had lost hope. My 2 daughters, for always being patient with me, as they were part of my journey through my challenges and making my life worth living. The women in my life have taught me that a strong woman loves, forgives, walks away, lets go, tries again, and perseveres, no matter what life throws at her. So in conclusion, Women's Day should be treated like any other day. It's the same as a birthday, an anniversary, or graduation. It's an excuse to celebrate and share your journey and experiences. It's not because we are suppressed. For every Mother's Day on a calendar, you will also find a Father's Day. For a breast cancer charity, you will find a prostate cancer charity. Don't differentiate, but grow and change. Take opportunities and don't restrict. The more you dwell on the negatives, the more negative you become. Only the ones close to you will make you realize this. So accept the challenges and be proud. I leave you with a very powerful quote by the ever famous Sir Richard Branson. If someone offers you an opportunity and you're not sure if you can do it, say yes, then do it later. I did just that. So thank you for listening to me. And I'd like to thank Rajulben and LCUK team for giving me this opportunity. And I hope that all of us today who have spoken and the other ladies have inspired someone for something along the way. Thank you.
Oh, wow. That was one inspirational story, Smita Ben. You were great, and especially you brought back the memories of Exodus in 1972. It's going to be 50 years this year.
That's
Such
right.
a long time. Yeah, and you did so well.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got questions for you. Do you find it difficulty in being in education with children? Is there any difficulties involved there?
None at all. It's working with children, as the other 2 ladies said, is the most inspiring, the most rewarding. Children are so adaptable to change. And if you can help nurture a child, there is no difficulty. You've got to learn to understand children and be at their level for them to, and you've got to believe in yourself for the child to believe in you.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And what about how do you handle tantrums from children and parents too at times?
Children don't give us the tantrums, parents do. Yes.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I can agree with you.
Children are good. Bearing in mind that children are coming to better themselves, and parents have put the trust in you to educate their children. So it's a partnership. We work as a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So tantrums are very few and far between.
How old are the children in your program?
Anything ranging from 3 to 18.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. All my family, niece and nephews in Canada, they used to go to Cummins and it really helped them out. So I'm so glad that you are helping so many children. Yeah, so that's good. And what about the regulations and DBS checks? Is it very difficult or not really?
It's you have to do all the compliance, so it's not easy. Yes, everybody has to be DBS checked. We have to do safeguarding courses annually. There's a whole huge thing. So as I said earlier, it used to be a part-time little business, but now it's more than full-time. So there's a lot of legal stuff that goes on, Ofsted, being Ofsted registered, and you have a whole compliance section for that. So there's lots of legal obligations you have to adhere to.
Must be, yeah, must be. And I guess in this business, who looks after your finances? Is it just you doing everything, or you have help there?
No, it's just like what the other ladies were saying. It's a partnership. My husband is a financial controller. He's an FCCA.
Okay.
So it's about sharing responsibilities. He too is a Kumon instructor, as is my eldest daughter. So I don't think anybody can do everything by themselves.
No.
And we're very fortunate that we have a huge family network that we can, share responsibilities. So yes, I have my husband who does all of that for me.
Oh, that's good. The next question, I think you've covered part of it. If you want to add more to it, says, how much support did you get from your immediate and extended family?
Lots. Moral support, 100% from everybody. When I started my business, my children used to do a lot of the pulling of the worksheets from the garage in the cold. It was, without the family, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky that, we have that family support network, whether it's, moral support or physical, or whether it's, taking on responsibilities, and that support never ends. So although my son works, away from us, he still helps. My youngest daughter is in education, but she still helps. So everybody is together. It is a family business. It's not a personal business.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Okay. Like, this is interesting. How do you juggle a husband and kids with the business? Especially, I would say husband, right? He must be difficult.
Okay. Well, I always call a husband the adopted child.
That's true.
So I can tame my children, but I can't change. But again, it's understanding, it's partnership, it comes with time. And, I don't call it juggling. I think everybody takes their own responsibilities and you work together. It's a partnership. So that I don't call it juggling. I think it is. I'm very lucky that we have a partnership and everybody understands. Yes, do we fight? Yes, of course we fight. We're human.
Yeah,
but we fight more about our students than we fight in the home life. So, but it is a partnership.
Yeah, well, that's good. Thanks a lot. I mean, your story was very inspiring. You really worked hard, and today you've achieved so much. And I would say that for everybody, all the speakers, you guys were great. And thank you for coming here. And I'm sure you must have inspired a lot of ladies here. We all are inspired too. I mean, mind you, we all must be thinking to start something at this age as well. Thank you so much. And it was lovely seeing you all. Rajul, over to you.
Seriously, this is what I meant. Smita Bhabi is so inspiring. Smita Bhabi, whilst you were talking, there was a young lady who had tears in her eyes, and I won't mention any name, Mayuri. Okay, fine. So you know what? Oh, sorry. Did I say that? Oops, slip of tongue. Thank you so much, ladies. I mean, Miraben, thank you so much. You were amazing, and I've known you. So if I say thanks to you once more, you'll probably come and hit me right now. Varshaben, your story was so inspirational about getting into education at a later age. Fantastic. Radhika, wow, I just want to know the drink that you have every day in the morning, and especially that little young lady. Hi, Beta, you're right. So, brilliant. Thank you so much, Radhika. Divya Ben, Neha Ben, you know what? The book's been ordered, and I'm sure you can see that on your website. I've just placed the order, yeah? So I think that speaks volumes. Smita Bhabi, I don't know what to say. If I say thank you, I know you'll come and slap me, but Smita Bhabi has always been inspirational to me. She's always been that person who I go to, my go-to person, basically, all the time. And I disturb her at random hours as well. It's International Women's Day. I said this earlier on. Let's make it our day. Every day should be an International Women's Day. let's remove this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's make it our day. We've got so many inspirational women in our own family. I know my mom, my sister Bijal are the most inspirational women to me. All you women have been so inspirational to me today. So thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. I miss my other inspirational power lady today, Pananti. Indira Auntie is not here today as well. So I miss those two inspiring women to me. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, LCUK Mahila, Sandhya Auntie, Mina Auntie, Rekha Auntie, Dina Ben. You've all been on the call. Thank you so much for your support. Bharat Bhai, thank you very much for supporting this event once again. And funnily enough, I should say, we're beating time, so we're not prolonged. We're at 4 o'clock and we'll be calling it today. So have a good evening, everyone. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the Sunday tomorrow. And I hope to see you all at the next LCUK Mahila event. One more thing before I go, Bharat Bhai just reminded me and said that we have got another event coming up. Please watch this space. It's a family fortune type of an event for Antakshri, and I'm sure that's going to be amazing. So thank you, everyone. Hope to see you at the next event. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Jalaram.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, darling.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, I love.
Bye, everyone.
Well done, everyone.
This
Excellent.
program, very, very nice.
Really enjoyed the show. Well done.